I'll call this regional council meeting to order. Developing meaningful relationships with our Indigenous neighbors is a priority of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. As such, we are collaborating with First Nations, governments, and Indigenous organizations to develop a respectful and meaningful territorial acknowledgement. This work also presents an opportunity to learn more about the culture and history of the Indigenous peoples of the region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually, is being streamed and recorded. Should virtual attendees wish to address council during either the public comment period or the question and answer period, use the raise hands feature on your webinar controls. When it's your turn and are prompted, unmute your microphone, state your name and ask your question. Once your question is ended, you will be muted again. I have one addition to the agenda, Northwest Tel outages. Are there any council additions? Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, just one with a slight clarification on the Clark Lake Road.
Very well. Any other additions? Mr. Berry.
Yes, Mayor. Addition specific to the UBCM grant opportunity for the housing needs report.
Thank you. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. A motion, please, to adopt the special regional council meetings minutes of March 14th, 2022, the regional council meeting of March 14th, 2022, and the special regional council of March 16th, 2022. Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any virtual attendees who wish to comment on the agenda tonight? Thank you. Reports, bylaws, administration report number 29, development variance permits application 2201, Wide Sky Disposal, relocating office modular. Ms. Andikari?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So the report I'm presenting today is in response to the application we have received for development variance permit. And through this permit, the applicant Basil Batten, owner of the Wide Sky Disposal Limited, is seeking to vary the regulations of Northern Rockies Regional Municipality's current zoning bylaw by locating the office modular in front of the principal building. Wide Sky Disposal Limited serves public recycling and processing facilities from the property located at 4501 55th Street in Fort Nelson, zoned under M1 Light Industrial. The property currently have a principal building, which is serving as a warehouse storage facility, and two trailers, which are attached side by side, serving as an office facility. The existing office trailer have been temporarily permitted through a covenant under Section 219 of Land Title Act, requiring the removal or relocation of the trailers by July 10th, 2022. In addition, the applicant indicates that existing office trailers have outlived their life, and therefore the applicant intends to replace the existing trailers and relocate the replacement modular. The applicant has proposed to site the replacement modular in front of the principal building, as illustrated in the map attached with the report. However, NRRM zoning bylaw does not allow the accessory building to be sited in front of the principal building as per section 3.7.2, which speaks to the foremost motivation for of applicant to apply for this variance. Generally, to expedite this process following the NRRM procedures, it is recommended that Regional Council consider the notification outlining the details of the development variance permit application to be sent out to the adjacent property owners within the 110 meter of radius from the subject property. And that is everything from my side. If there is any questions, I would be happy to answer it.
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Gerwing.
So can you give me a visual on where they want to move this? So I'm looking at page 29 of the report. And it shows the side of the building. Is that where they want to move the modular to?
So attached with the application, you should have this map.
Yeah,
Yeah, within this map, it's kind of differentiated with the colors. And the green colors also named as new.
that's black and white, sorry.
Is it black and white?
So can you see my pictures?
So like you
So
said.
it's the parking.
yeah,
So
right.
So currently, where they're gonna move that modular to, then that's currently that's where you park to access the recycle center. To return it. So how will that change? Like, where will we be able to park to access the recycle center if that modular is now going to be there? The office is gonna be there now? What arrangements are they going to make for people to access the recycle center?
So in that case, as the new modular building won't be able to attach with the principal building as per the intention of the applicant, because attaching a new modular to the principal building would become quite expensive, as it will have to follow the principal building guidelines. So he's just intending to put it in front of the building, but with some setback distance that would be 2 meters at least. So he's just willing to have a passageway from new modular building to the principal building.
Yeah. You know, in that one. Mhm. Right. So that's currently where we park right now is where the building's gonna be.
I mean, you only park 7 meters in front of it, would you be in front of the building first?
That's where the gate is. The fence, that's where the fence is. Anyways, that's my concern, is parking.
Councillor Penny.
I actually happened to run into Mr. Batten today and spoke to him a little bit about this. It definitely sounds like it's going to improve the look of the lot quite a bit and finally clean it up. And I can totally relate to him. He definitely still seems very interested to follow through with their plan eventually to put the offices on there, but with all businesses in town, we know how much we're affected, and there's no way that they could afford to do the rest of their build. And that is where it was intended to go originally, according to the building, I guess. So it's either that modular sits out there or the offices would have went there eventually. So parking would have been back further anyway.
Mr. Barry.
Just Councillor Penny's point is, and as Rob was saying, the area where the location of the offices are going would be, what they're asking council is for the variance to allow the offset, to allow a building to go there next to the building and not be connected to the main part of the building. And it's to do with the cost essentially to be able to attach to the main part of the building. So in essence, they'd be able to build something there today without any input of council to attach it to the building. Is what they're asking for basically, is to have it there without that. So that intent to do that was part of the program anyway.
Are there any other questions? Very well. Hearing none, make the recommendation to the staff proceed with notification to adjacent property owners, details the development variance permit application number 2201 per section 499 of the Local Government Act and in accordance with the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality procedures. A seconder for that motion.
Second that.
Seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shepherd. Revision of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Animal Control Pound and Licensing number 9, bylaw number 9, 2009, administration report number 30.
Hi, Mayor and Council. So as Council is aware, there's been ongoing efforts to address animal welfare issues in the NRM for some time. At the January 10th Regional Council meeting, Council directed staff to invite expressions of interest for the provision of animal welfare, animal control, and pound keeping services. Tonight's report is specific to the animal control pound and licensing bylaw. Throughout the last year, we've been engaging with local animal welfare stakeholders and representatives of the BCS-BCA on animal welfare challenges. And during this process, there have been several areas of concern identified in the current bylaw. These discrepancies may cause challenges regarding enforcement, conflict with other legislation, may be outdated, and or may result in unregulated practices. So in light of the expressions of interest process and some likely changes to the scope of current animal welfare services, there's an opportunity for a revision of the current animal control bylaw, which would allow for updated legislation to be in line with current standards, address gaps where there is no regulation, and rectify vague or conflicting language in the bylaw. The report identifies several areas which are currently lacking clarity, including beekeeping, backyard chickens and kennel licensing, licenses for dangerous, aggressive, or nuisance animals, animal seizure, impoundment, and or sheltering, euthanizing policies and feral colony management, animal control service boundaries, and stipulations regarding pet burials. Council may wish to consider amendments to the bylaw that would be reflective of current best practices and provincial guidelines for animal control services. And the option before you is for a revision to the existing bylaw with a draft brought back to Council for review.
Thank you. Comments, councillors? Hearing none, I'll ask that a revision to the existing Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Animal Control Pound and Licensing Bylaw number 09/2029 be initiated and the draft be brought back to council for review. Do I have a second to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councillor Goering is opposed. Councillor Goering is opposed. All others are in favor. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Administration report number 31, share shed update. Ms. Shepherd, sorry.
Sorry, got too excited. Okay, so this report provides pricing information related to council's request for the information about the installation of a share shed at the landfill transfer station. As outlined in the report, shed construction options are there in the attached cost analysis. And the option on the report speaks to a budgeted amount of $15,000 for the purchase and installation of a 13 by 20 industrial metal garage shed for $12,000, estimated $12,000 with electrical service. With electrical servicing is an estimated additional $2,500. And in addition to these costs would be the operational costs for share shed management.
Any questions for Ms. Shepherd? Councillor Penny.
I'm just wondering, I understand all the reasons why we couldn't go with a CCAN, given whatever, it seems silly, but yeah. But I'm just wondering if we could make sure, because this is a trial, I don't want to get us to the point that we put a building down there, and if this doesn't work, that we're stuck with a building that we're not going to use. So I'd want some way that this building is made so it built on a skid or something that it could be moved to a different location and utilized somewhere else in the NRM, instead of putting something down there that would just, if this doesn't work. I really think it's going to work, but I wouldn't want to see something permanently built down there and stuck there if it doesn't go ahead.
So Ms. Shepherd, would there be an additional cost for putting this on skids?
I believe there would be an additional cost for putting this on skids, and I'm not sure what that would look like, but we could come back to council with it, or council could make a resolution for that. Oh, looks like maybe,
Mr. Barry has got his finger on the trigger here, so. Mr. Barry.
We don't know what the costs are, but we can ensure that whatever we do cost out is, if council wishes, can be movable, like something on skids. Council might wish to up the budget a little bit incrementally just to look after the additional potential costs that we might incur. We're just not sure what that looks like, so.
Perhaps maybe $3,000 or $4,000.
Something like that. If we weren't within the ballpark, we would bring something back to council, or we can bring something back to council specific to it at a later date. It's entirely up to council.
Councillor Andrews.
Just reading in the remarks of the quotes, it did list that the metal garage with frame could be repurposed for storage of tools and small equipment. So I just assumed that the proponent at the landfill already spoke to possibly buying, renting, or repurposing that. Am I assuming wrong?
I think that it definitely could be repurposed easily. I think that's what this cost analysis is speaking to, whether that's NRM or the proponent at the landfill. I'm not sure.
Any other comments? Councillor Penny.
I would feel comfortable that increasing this budget to make sure that it can encompass, within reason, some sort of skid or whatever. I don't build anything, so I don't know, but whatever it would take to make it so this thing would be mobile, and willing to make the motion that we go with the option one with just adjusting the budget from 15,000 to say 20,000. That should give more than enough to go in there. If they say 3,000 or 4,000, we put it to 20.
Do we have a seconder for Mr. Penny's motion? Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Administration report number 32. 40th Street and 52nd Avenue Sanitary Sewer Upgrade 2022-01 Award. Mr. Dominic.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So yeah, essentially this report is for the recommendation of award for the 52nd Ave and 40th Street sanitary rehab. All the tenders that were submitted were fully compliant with the process, and this is to recommend the award to Napit Industries for the lowest submitted bid price shown.
Thank you. Are there any questions about this? Very well, I'll ask for a motion then, please. Moved by Councillor Andrew, for the recommendation, I take it, Councillor Andrew,
Correct, yes.
that the 40th Street and 52nd Avenue Sanitary Sewer Upgrades 2022-1 be awarded to Canap Industries in the amount of $774,135.60 plus all applicable taxes. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. That motion was carried unanimously. Thank you. Northern Rockies Regional Municipality Zoning Amendment Bylaw, Commercial Recreational Use Number 201-2022.
Good evening again. So just to familiarize again, the purpose of this zoning amendment is to revise Northern Rockies Regional Municipalities zoning bylaw by repealing commercial recreation use from a parcel located at 4704 54th Street, situated within M1 Light Industrial Zone. Pursuant to the direction of Regional Council on February 28th, 2022 meeting, public hearing notice and notice to adjacent property owners were initiated to further the zoning amendment process. I would like to bring it to your notice that no comments or concern have been received through any mail or direct contact, and no comments were also received through public hearing. So thus the recommendation would be that third reading and adoption be given to the zoning amendment bylaw.
Any comments, councillors? Very well, I'll make the motion that we give third reading and final adoption to zoning bylaw number 201, 2022. I have a seconder for that motion. Seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Northern Rockies Hospital District Regional Hospital District 2022 Annual Budget for Adoption, bylaw number 77, 2022. Addenda, that the Northern Rockies Regional Hospital District 2022 Annual Budget Adoption, bylaw number 77, be given first, second, third, and final adoption. Mr. Barry.
If council has any questions, based on previous discussion in the Rising Report from the meeting last week, and of course, Ms. Pike's here too to provide any answers that I can't answer.
Are there any questions about the hospital district budget? Very well, I'll make the motion. Ask for a seconder, please, for that motion. We approve the budget, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Correspondence, Northern Rockies Regional Municipality letter to Adrian Dix, Minister of Health. Letter of support for no-cost prescription contraceptives. City of Abbotsford, Mayor Henry Braun, support for resolution. Fort Nelson District Chamber of Commerce, support business and pandemic recovery and global uncertainties. Northern Rockies Regional Municipality letter to Matt Mason, Community and Indigenous Relations Manager, Fortis BC, regarding meter reading. And Northern Rockies Regional Municipality letter to Brent Oil on behalf of Hannah Infrastructures, contract award of invitation to 10 years. Are there any comments on any of those correspondence? Very well, hearing none. Information package, council information package for March 16th, 2022, and council information package March 23rd. Received for information. New business items. Northwest Tel outage. Mr. Barry, you've had some contact with Northwest Tel regarding their outage, which I believe will be complete for the community for up to 4 hours. Can you tell us something about that?
Yes, we've had a number of conversations with Northwest Tel. Most recently, I had one this afternoon just prior to the meeting. They've provided some information on their website and their various platforms, and also indicated that if you have an email address as a customer attached to them, then you will receive that directly also from them. So did you get it tonight? Because I got it, I was sitting in the meeting here tonight. Yeah. So since since we've been here tonight, so they've provided that. In terms of specifics with the outage, it's based on their information, it's needed network improvements. That's a hardware requirement. Unfortunately, given our location and the type of well, basically we have one line in and one line out, so if there isn't redundancy built in our location, so it's a required outage. We're meeting with which will create issues. Well, from a communication perspective, we want locally landlines will be able to communicate within the town proper, we'll call it Fort Nelson, but not across the river, and vice versa. They can speak, so you can call landlines within the region, within your area, so I call it Fort Nelson proper, but once you get past the Musqueam, then similar Fort Nelson First Nations, 292, whatnot, we'll be able to talk to each other on a landline, but not call this way. So what we're doing currently is working with, we're meeting tomorrow at noon with the emergency services to talk about the various protocols that each agency has in place, and to make sure there's I'll call it a group effort, so that we're not duplicating efforts per se, so we can divide and conquer, for the lack of better words, to ensure that we do whatever we can to mitigate any issues regarding communication, trying to communicate with emergency services. Once we have that meeting tomorrow, our intent is to broadly communicate what the various agencies are doing, including us, and FNFN will be part of the discussion also, Fort Nelson First Nation. And we'll broadcast also, we'll email or communicate that out broadly to the residents of the NRM and to council and update council. The expectation from from a duration perspective is they feel they can get a turnaround from emergency services perspective, because they're going to prioritize the 911 and emergency services as they roll back in. So they hope that they can have that done within about 90 minutes. So we're expecting potentially a 90-minute outage for that particular piece. Overall, the full outage, they are broadcasting a 4-hour window for the outage. They have a 6-hour window in terms of start, when they would start, gives them a bit of time, but the actual outage itself, the duration is 240 minutes is what they're communicating. That's giving them some contingency within their, they expect, and I'll say hope, to be offline and back online completely within about 2.5 hours.
Any questions for Mr. Berry on this? Very well. Councillor Andrews, Clark Lake.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions today about the Clark Lake Road and what portion of it is maintained by the Northern Rockies and how much is owned and maintained by Cannon Resources. If I could just get a clarification.
So I can't speak to what Cameron Resources owns or maintains, because I'm not aware they own any of it, to be honest with you. So from a NRM perspective, from the highway to kilometer 15 is the NRM's jurisdiction. So about the turnoff to the old Fort turnoff, that's what we have jurisdiction over. What we maintain is about kilometer 5. So just to the top of the switchback, just past the railway bridge. So typically anything beyond that, we've had in the past user agreements and whatnot in place for Centrica 1 year, had it, or for a number of years, Petrocan prior to that, just to access well sites. So it gives them the approval to not use the road per se, but to be able to maintain the road. Because we, like I said, we don't put any funds into maintaining the road past kilometer 5, with the exception of inspecting from a liability perspective.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Berry, housing needs assessment grant application.
Oh, yes, Mayor, thank you. So I emailed council over the weekend. We just became aware of a UBCM grant opportunity. As per, we're required to do a housing needs assessment, and it's required to be complete by the end of April 2022. And then there's additional work that's required on an ongoing basis. We had a budget of $25,000 was approved by council to do this work, but just finding out about this grant opportunity, looking for a resolution of council to support the grant application, indicating support for the current proposed activities and the willingness to provide overall grant management is how the council resolution would read. And the
Councillor Andrews?
Sorry, it's 15,000, but I didn't say that already.
Councillor Andrews, did you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we put in the application for the grant.
Seconder for that motion, please. Seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Council reports. Are there any council reports? Councillor Andrews.
I was lucky enough to travel to Calgary and then to Victoria. I went to Calgary for the Outdoor Adventure Show. I was there with 4 other people with our Travel North BC group. I was able to fill in actually a lot of questions for the North. It was a good thing that I was up there. A lot of questions on connectivity, actually, which I found surprising. It went opposite, though. There was only one person concerned of the lack, and the rest of the people were excited that there was limited connectivity. They want the experience of the wild. And I let them know how we've been working very hard on the contrary, and they're really hoping that those don't kind of come to fruition. They're hoping that we don't have connectivity up here to the detriment of our residents, I guess. But a little interesting for the tourism side of things. And then I went over to Victoria for the Municipal Finance Authority AGM, and it was actually quite interesting. They were talking about the climate of Canada and BC in general, and that because of the way Canada's decoupled away from Alberta oil and the fact that we can't get any more oil out of Alberta has stabilized our dollar, which has been really good for financing, I guess, which to most people up here was a bad thing. I guess financially was good. BC has the best growth potential forecasted out of all the provinces, but we're also, as opposed to the rest of the provinces, are looking to add more debt, where the rest of the provinces are working to get rid of their debt, which they thought was a little strange. And they had a huge afternoon specific to environmental, social, government factors. The ESG and social finance panel was great. I got lots of information on that, and it's all on how the different look on how we're going to finance our money and how it will be environmentally and socially responsible, as opposed to just looking for the best bang for our buck. We want to be able to invest into, I guess, socially responsible companies. That was kind of neat. And a big thank you to Alicia Gregory, to Scott and Tammy Berry. They made all my difficult travel quite simple. Thank you.
Good job. And I would say that Ms. Gregory does do an excellent job of making sure we get to where we need to go when we need to go there. Councillor Penny.
I just want to put a big shout out to Northern Rockies staff and to the Fort Nelson Event Society. I was lucky enough to volunteer the last couple of weekends for some of our first events coming out of post-COVID here. The last of which being a dance at the rec center on Saturday night, which seemed to be very well received. And it definitely couldn't have gone off as well without the support of the rec staff over there. And they did an amazing job prior to the event, getting things set up and take down. It was great, along with the fishing derby that was held the Saturday prior out at Andy Bailey. The road was maintained perfectly and it was set up just great. Everybody really enjoyed it. So I think we had they had over 60 participants at the fishing derby out at Andy Bailey, and there was over 160 people attended the dance on Saturday night, and everybody seemed to be very happy to get out and see each other again. So again, big thank you to staff. Scott, you can pass that along. I mean, the contractor taking care of the road at Andy Bailey did an amazing job. It was great. I mean, we had everything from very small cars to, our normal trucks in the area, but everybody able to travel in and out of there perfectly. So very happy to see that and see everybody out enjoying life again.
Very well. Any other reports? Are there any virtual attendees who wish to ask a question? Very well. I'll ask for a resolution. The meeting be closed pursuant to section 91I of the Community Charter. Moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? Carried.